Yes, and how long have you been in Italy?
5 years. So I lived in London previously, and when I got married, a few months after I had my
Venice. And what's it like at Trinidadian living in Venice?
It's quite nice actually. We have a lot in common with Italians. Like I always tell people this, they are a very warm people. They're very open, they're very welcoming. Uh, they probably like macroing as much as we do. You know, their family conversations rotate around talking about other people's business, which is perfectly, something that I'm completely used to. Um, they love food, they love to lime, and they love family. So it's really, really a lot like Trinidad and Tobago in a sense. So for me, I am completely comfortable here. Um, it's my fault that I don't know the language as well as I should. So yeah, that's just me being a bad immigrant. So, but yeah, I really, really do like it. It's
And
extremely safe.
and what do you do there? What do you do? Your work?
I don't work in Italy. I work from home a lot of the times, but I'm a change communications consultant and I work actually in the Netherlands. So I travel back and forth every week. Um, but my newest contract, I do still work in the Netherlands, but I work at home for them.
And what does it mean? What a change communications consultant?
Um, I help people understand what changes are going on and why it's coming and why it's good for you and what needs to be done. I do work a lot in the IT space, and as you probably know, and it's pretty obvious, IT is always changing. There's always something happening. So it's just about managing people's expectations, helping them understand what they're doing, what's coming, and how it's going to help them.
And tell me, COVID-19, when did it really hit you that it was something serious?
That's a good question. I think around the same time it hit the rest of the people in this country. So about 2 weeks ago, when they put the entire country on lockdown, um, we realized that, yeah, everybody needs to sit up and pay attention because, a few days before that, everyone was out, they were in bars, they were hanging out, kids were going to the parks, the schools weren't open because there was a carnival holiday, but people were out and about. It was business as usual. The news was there, the numbers were going up, but no one thought it was close to them. No one thought it had anything to do with them because you're either healthy and can't be touched, or B, it was in a whole other region and not physically close to you, so you didn't think that, and it could affect where you were. And I think when they put the whole country on lockdown, when the numbers suddenly started rising almost exponentially, we realized that there was a problem. um,
What do you think caused the numbers to rise so much? Because I was looking, I think like every day now you have like more than 1,000 cases, new cases. That is something very serious.
I can't, obviously, I'm not a medical expert, so I can't really say that for sure. The news reports here say, and this is not confirmed or this is not something we know for sure, but the news reports here say that there are a lot of asymptomatic people who don't show any symptoms, who are spreading the virus around. So they don't look sick, they don't feel sick, they're going to work, they're going shopping in the grocery, they're going to the market, they're going to the pharmacy, and bringing home the disease, taking the disease out of the home, and the virus rather, and spreading it basically. So
Is it that
it's
Italy now, Venice, where you are, is it when you say it's on lockdown, what do you mean? Is it a law? Is it like a state emergency, or what is the situation there?
I think in terms of Trinidad, is it's not quite a state of emergency. It may well get to that because people are still going out. What it means for us is that all of the bars and restaurants and museums and shops, like retail shops, they're all closed. The only places that are open are supermarkets and pharmacies and the corner shops where you can get, some local supplies, necessities really. And we're told by the government, it's not been mandated, but we are told by the government to stay inside as much as possible. You're only really supposed to leave your house if you have a medical visit or if you have to go to the pharmacy or the supermarket. If you leave your house, you have to have a government issued form which you fill out by yourself. You print out and you fill out by yourself. And if the police are checking, you have to have one on you stating the reason that you're out. They can check that at any point in time. And if you're found to be lying on that form, because they can call and check to see where you've been or check CCTV, then they can fine you, I think it's €206 or a few months in jail.
And
Well,
and what are the what are the details the form has in it? Like what you have to fill out on the form? What do
I
they ask you?
haven't seen they've reissued a form. I haven't seen the new one yet, but it's your name, your address, your phone number, your reason for being out, and your signature. So that's the simplified form. I think they've issued one that's far more detailed, but I haven't seen it yet because I haven't had a chance to print it. But yeah, so any
And
police.
life has drastically changed for you. For example, your son now is at home. There's no school. You work from home. How are you coping? What are you doing to adapt to that?
Well, school has been out since pretty much Carnival Monday because they get Carnival week off. So school has pretty much been yeah, they stopped school since then. I haven't been able to start work, so I was supposed to start work 3 weeks ago, but I'm not supposed to travel. My company won't let me travel because of COVID-19. And I haven't been able to log onto the system because everyone in Europe in that company is working from home at the moment. So their system is completely bonkers. Um, yeah, life it's really really strange because you are in the house, you want to leave, the streets are empty, and you do want to go outside and you do think, okay, I need to go to the supermarket or I need to go to the pharmacy, I'll just pop out, but you can't do that. It's a constant discipline. You have to stay at home. It's the only way that this lockdown can work. So we stay in as much as possible. We go out once or twice a day to our garden, take a walk to get some fresh air. The way we've been able to deal with this is really just implementing a routine that works for all of us. So, it's getting up, getting breakfast made, doing a bit of schoolwork with my son, doing a bit of physiotherapy or playing with him, then making lunch, resting. And this, I'm telling you the schedule because it's really important to keep your sanity. A bit more schoolwork, and then there's dinner, and then he goes to bed. And then my husband and I have our various different ways of relaxing in the evening. We also just have to make space for each other. So if we find that we're kind of getting on top of each other, somebody goes into another room or goes upstairs, gets a book, they read, do whatever, just kind of takes your mind off of things. But yeah, having a schedule has kind of kept us sane. It's getting a bit more difficult now because we don't know when the lockdown is going to end. So it's going to go at least until April 15th. And there are people who are still abusing the lockdown and abusing the rules, which is that you can go out for groceries, they're going out for walks, they're going out in groups. And because of this, people are still getting infected. So they are becoming even more strict. And they're talking about implementing a curfew in April at some point. So just hearing that and anticipating even more time at home is just a bit stressful.
And you were saying, when you wrote the piece for ACP News, you were saying that there hasn't been any panic buying. There are still groceries on the shelves, and that remains as is.
At the very beginning, so about 2-3 weeks ago, I think people did do a little bit of panic buying, not in my region, not in the Veneto region, not really, in Rome. And I think today on the news they were reporting that once again in Rome, people are panic buying and queuing up outside of the supermarkets. But in most other places, it's been pretty calm. In Venice, we're quite lucky because it's an island off the mainland. The supermarkets here cater for the hundreds of thousands of tourists that come through. So there are a lot of supermarkets, and there's more supply than demand. So
And you were
all
saying
of
that the
people.
place is very quiet, and the other thing that the water now in the canals are very clean. Hishan, tell me about that. The gondolas they're not working either.
No, they're not working. They haven't been working for a couple of weeks at all. I saw the when I went out at the beginning of the lockdown, I saw one gondolier, and I think he was just parking his gondola. So he was definitely not working. All of the gondolas are parked up, if you can say that, or docked, and covered up. So they are out of commission completely. There is
Is,
literally
is
no
that
one
strange
on
for you?
the
Is that a strange sight?
It's
Normally
extremely
working.
strange. Well, in Venice, generally speaking, you can't walk 2 minutes without, meeting up a tour group or seeing a bunch of tourists or hearing the suitcases rolling through the streets. You can't generally walk over bridges. I mean, there are like 400 bridges in the city. Obviously, it's a city built on water. And you usually have to push through people. Now if I go outside, I see maybe 3 people if I'm lucky. And those 3 people I see will walk away from me. We all make a lot of space for each other. So you kind of see them 3 meters in the distance, and you keep your distance. You may say hello, you may not. But my husband says it's literally never been this empty, and he grew up here. So yeah,
Are
it's
there any confirmed cases close to you in your neighborhood? Do you know?
we know that from yesterday's figures, we know that there are about 30 people in self-isolation within a 5-minute radius of where we live. So we would be using the same supermarkets and pharmacies as they would have been using. But we don't actually know anyone who's been infected. And I don't think if they were, we would know, because I think everybody is just kind of keeping to themselves at this point.
And are there protocols in place in case anyone is affected? Things to do. You all know what to do. The government
Yeah.
has told you all things like that.
So as soon as you feel any symptoms, you are to call a hotline number, and they come and they test you and decide what course of action should be taken. So
And
it's not a matter of, yeah.
our businesses, you're suffering now. Shops.
Yeah. They've been
Pizzeria.
closed for nearly a month. So the first, it sounds almost biblical. The first thing was the floods that happened in December and January, and then COVID-19 hit, and so businesses have been closed and struggling since January, maybe even since December. Venice makes a lot of its money off of tourism now, and yeah, a lot of people have B&Bs, a lot of hotels have lost bookings. The gondoliers aren't working, the bars are closed. In a city that runs on tourism, for it to have zero tourists for now 2 months, I can't imagine what the economy is going to look like after this. I mean, my
Is
friends.
there any help announced by the government to help financially to the businesses, to the people? Yeah.
I think I'm sure there is. I haven't been paying attention to that.
And
Sorry.
and And I have to ask, what does a Trini eat in Italy, in Venice? What's the diet like?
Italian food. We eat a lot of fresh fruit and vegetables. We do eat pasta, not nearly as much as you probably think. Um, we have pizza on Friday nights. Sometimes we order it, sometimes we make it, most times we make it. But a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables. A lot a lot of people think Italian food is just pizza and pasta, but it's actually fresh fruits and vegetables. They do a lot of seasonal meals, and they use what's in season to prepare their food. So
Well, and do you cook now? More than usual. You cooking now, or is
yeah,
that
now
something
I
you normally
have
do?
to. Yeah, before it was, I got away from making lunch because my son would go to his grandparents for lunch. Now I have to cook lunch and dinner, which I know is not a big deal at all. Some people cook breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Um, but it's quite nice actually because, I mean, cooking is a way of relieving stress as well. So, um, yeah, it's good. It's good. It gives you something to do as well when you're trapped inside the house all day. Yay.
Thank you very much. Well, we only have 9 confirmed cases as of this morning.
There's
Our
not
last night. Yeah,
there's no such thing as only prior.
yeah,
3 or 4 days ago, I think you only had two, correct?
correct. Yes. So I'm just going to ask you what advice you have for us now, since you have been maybe in the brunt of it.
Yeah. Stay inside. Seriously, stay inside, wash your hands, do what the government is asking you to do, avoid crowds as much as possible. There is I keep on if you see my post on Facebook, I keep begging, I'm practically begging people to just stay inside. This is not this is this is more serious than anybody thinks. And when it happens to you, you would not believe what's going on. This evening's news, we saw a convoy of army trucks taking away dead bodies, and this is you cannot imagine what seeing something like that does to you. It's I'm emotional because it feels like you're in a war, but they
What
can't.
what what area was that? What was it in
And
Venice?
I believe that was Lombardia, the army of trucks.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I have to
How
double
far is that?
check. In
How far is
North
that?
Italy,
North Italy.
it's
Uh,
one of the worst hit regions in Bergamo. Um, there were, by my count, about 8 trucks, army trucks full of dead bodies. So there is a pattern. There is a clear pattern that happened in China. It happened in Italy. It's happening now in Spain. It's happening now in the UK, and it's happening in the NL, and it's happening in Germany. And I'll go through this because I wrote it down because this is really important for people to know. It starts with a small number of imported cases. It looks like a small number. You think it's far away from you. You think it won't affect you because you're young, or it's physically, geographically far away. And then the numbers increase, and then you think, okay, but it's just affecting old people. And then the numbers increase even more, and it comes a bit closer to you. And then all of a sudden, without even thinking, the numbers are out of control, which is exactly what happened in Italy. I mean, they are, and you have to take extremely serious measures, like the measures that we're taking now. So I think in countries where this pattern is now emerging, or this process is now starting, when it enters your country, you have a very small window of opportunity to take serious action to stop this from happening. China took the action. Maybe it was, in a sense, easier for them to do because they can unleash their military and make people do what what needs to be done. It's a bit harder in Western countries where when you deploy the army, it's seen to be political suicide, if you want to put it like that. But it is very serious. The stress on the health system here is unbelievable. You see doctors on the news crying. There are things that are happening that people don't realize are happening. Younger people are getting sick. I'm deeply, deeply worried for people in Trinidad because the number one risk factor for this disease is hypertension. And I know our population has relatively high rates of hypertension. So don't think that you're young and you're invincible, or you're a little bit older or you're middle-aged and this can't happen to you. This can happen to anyone, and it is happening to everyone. So
it also feels bad for the rest of us.
yeah. Yeah, that's what I have to say. Please stay at home, avoid big groups, wash your hands, work from home if possible, talk to your bosses. If you do feel ill in any way, like you have a sniffle, just for safety's sake, better safe than sorry, right? Just stay at home. Okay, so there's another thing that people aren't really considering, which is the impact on everyone else. So if you think about, I know Trinidad has parallel health systems, one set up for the corona patients and one set up for the national health system, and that's a great setup, and I think they've done a fantastic job with that. But if the system starts getting overloaded and they have to take over private institutions, they have to reassign units in the general hospitals and things like that, they have to take ambulances out of circulation, that is going to affect everyone else in the population. You are not going to have access to the hospitals like you do now, like you did before. And that's also something that's happening in Italy that people are not talking about. Right now, my son is epileptic. My mother-in-law has Parkinson's. My father-in-law has a heart condition. And you know what? Anything can happen to anyone at any point in time. None of us want to go to the hospital because we are just afraid. And the hospitals simply don't have the personnel to deal with it either. So it's just something else to consider about why this thing can be so serious for everyone. So it's not about you. It's about everyone at this point, and it's just with knowing that.